Polaris stock was trading above $120 a share in 2022. Today it's $66. 90% earnings drop in one quarter, and $250 million cut just to stay alive. This is the company that built the sled your dad rode, the sled you rode, the company that literally invented the machine and then slowly, quietly forgot what it was. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how that happened. The one decision in 1985 that changed Polaris's identity forever. The man they forced out of his own company, who went and built their biggest rival out of spite, and why even the most dominant snowmobile ever made couldn't save them from themselves. If you grew up on a Polaris, this video is going to hurt you. Stay with me. It will start in Roseau, Minnesota. Population barely a few thousand people, right on the Canadian border. The kind of place where in January, 20 below is just a Tuesday. 1945, a 25-year-old named Edgar Hetton starts a machine repair shop with his younger brother Alan and their friend David Johnson. They call it Heading Hoist and Derrick. They fix farm equipment, they weld, they survive. A decade later, Edgar takes a business trip to California. And while he's gone, David Johnson decides to try something. He grabs parts from a grain elevator, an actual grain conveyor belt, some sheet metal, a cut-in-half Chevy front bumper for skis, and bolts it all together with a Briggs & Stratton engine. He builds a snowmobile. When Edgar gets back, he's furious. His employees wasted company time on a toy. But then a lumberyard owner named Pete Peterson showed up and handed over $465 for that machine to make payroll. Edgar stopped being furious real fast. By 1954, they've renamed the company Polaris Industries. By 1956, the first real production snowmobile rolls off the line. Now Edgar needs to prove to the world this thing isn't a toy, it's a legitimate vehicle. So in 1960, he does something crazy. He takes 3 snow travelers and rides 1,200 miles across Alaska. Bethel to Fairbanks, 21 days, minus 40 degrees. The sleds could barely hold 10 miles per hour in the deep snow. The Fairbanks Daily News Miner puts them on the front page. National attention. It works! But the part nobody tells you here is that back home, the bank's board of directors is livid. Edgar's been gone 3 weeks. Production slowed. The investors who funded Polaris wanted farm equipment, not snowmobiles. They wanted Edgar gone, and they got their way. Edgar Hetton, the man whose name was on the building, the guy who built the whole thing, was forced to resign from his own company. And wait until you hear what he did next, because it's the detail that explains the entire history of American snowmobiling. Edgar moved to Thief River Falls, Minnesota, and started a new company. He called it Polar Manufacturing, which then became Arctic Enterprises, which you know today as Arctic Cat. The founder of Polaris literally went and built their biggest competitor. But Polaris didn't die. Alan Hetton took over as president at age 31, and the company kept going, kept building sleds. And for a while, everything was fine, right up until they tried to get clever. 1963, the engineering team builds a brand new front-engine snowmobile called the Comet. They test it in Alaska on glacial hardpack. It runs beautifully. They take it to the dealers. 200 dealers order the 1964 model. They ship them out. Then winter hits. Real winter, the Comet falls apart, literally. Dozens of components fail in standard snow conditions, the exact conditions their customers actually ride in. The thing that worked on a glacier doesn't work in Michigan or Wisconsin. Polaris has to recall hundreds of sleds. They nearly go bankrupt. They almost don't survive 1964. So what do? They go back to basics. They build a simpler, family-oriented machine called the 1965 Mustang. Reliable, straightforward, people loved it. Polaris survives and learn a lesson that will drive their greatest era. Build for the rider who actually uses it, not the engineer who dreams it up. It's exactly what gave birth to the most important sled they ever made. If you rode sleds in the 80s, you already know where this is going. Through the 70s, Polaris had a racing program. Not marketing speak racing, real factory racing. The Midnight Blue Express. That's what they called their race team. In December 1976, the Midnight Blue Express starts winning, consistently, dominating. And the reason is something their engineers built on the race sleds: independent front suspension, IFS. Before this, every snowmobile ran leaf spring front ends, same as a 1940s truck. Hit a bump at 40 miles an hour, and you felt every inch of it in your spine. IFS lets each ski move independently, absorbs the hit, keeps the sled planted. In 1977, Polaris racer Steve Thorson wins the Eagle River World Championship on an RXL with IFS. He wins it again in 1978. So Polaris didn't just keep IFS on the race sleds, they put it on a production sled. 1980, the TXL Indy, named Indy for independent front suspension. 333 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled engine, aluminum chassis, 6 inches of front travel, under 500 pounds. And the front end, oh, it was in a different universe from everything else on the market. Snowgoer magazine wrote it and wrote that it has the handling of a race car. Within 2 years, every other manufacturer were trying to build their own IFS system. By 1991, Polaris became the first snowmobile company in history to offer an entire lineup with 0 leaf spring models. Every single sled had IFS. Snowmobile magazine named the Polaris Indy 500 the snowmobile of the decade for the 1980s. Dealers sold out. Polaris hit $1 billion in annual sales by 1995. This was the peak, the absolute peak. Drop a comment below if you owned an Indy, because I know you haven't forgotten what that sled felt like on a fresh packed trail. But here, our story gets interesting and a little uncomfortable. In 1985, right in the middle of the Indy's dominance, Polaris quietly introduces something that has nothing to do with snow. The Trail Boss 250, an ATV, an all-terrain vehicle. It makes sense. Snowmobiles are seasonal. You sell sleds from October to March, and then the money stops. TVs run year-round. More revenue, more quarters, more Wall Street happy. Smart business, genuinely smart business. But it starts a slow shift in what Polaris actually is, because you can't serve two masters forever. By 1990, they launched the Sportsman ATV line. By 1999, they built the Polaris Ranger, the first real utility side-by-side in the industry. Before Yamaha Rhino, before Can-Am, Polaris got there first. Then in 2007, the RZR drops, a sport side-by-side, 50-inch wide, 800 cubic centimeters engine. Built for trails, it's immediately the fastest-selling vehicle in Polaris history. The RZR doesn't need snow. The RZR doesn't need a specific season. The RZR sells to people who don't own snowsuits. And right then, that's the moment. That's when the snowmobile starts becoming a legacy product and the boardroom starts chasing something else. Now, does that make it wrong? I'll get to that. But first, by the late 90s, Polaris has already decided they're not just a snowmobile company, they're a power sports company. Different thing. 1998, they launched Victory motorcycles, trying to take on Harley-Davidson. American-made V-twin, chrome, and leather. Victory doesn't turn a profit until 2005. 7 years of bleeding, then 2010 hits, and this one really got under people's skin. Polaris moves a portion of its off-road vehicle assembly to Monterrey, Mexico. The stated reason saves the company $30 million a year in wages and benefits. $30 million, that's the number they put on it. The hometown company from Roseau, Minnesota, a town that exists because of Polaris, a town where Polaris is the largest employer, is moving work across the border. Now Roseau still builds snowmobiles. Osceola, Wisconsin still handles components. But the optics? In 2010, with a recession hammering working families in the snowbelt, it didn't land well. And the people who knew it best were the dealers and riders who'd bought every generation of Polaris sleds going back to their dads. Then 2011, Polaris buys Indian Motorcycle for a reported $46 million. The oldest American motorcycle brand. Great brand, terrible business. They pour money into it for years trying to turn it around. And then January 2017, they kill Victory Motorcycles. After 19 years, just shut it down. They needed the resources for Indian. That's roughly 2 decades of motorcycle investment, 2 brands, and they end up with one that still struggles to break through against Harley-Davidson. Meanwhile, back in snowmobile country, the Yamaha news breaks. In 2023, Yamaha announces it's done building snowmobiles. Done. Out. After 50-plus years. They'll still sell Arctic Cat sleds under the Yamaha badge through a supply deal, but as of 2026, Yamaha no longer engineers or produces its own snowmobile. The VMAX, the Apex, gone. Then Textron, which owns Arctic Cat, announces it's shutting down snowmobile and other vehicle production at its Thief River Falls, Minnesota plant. Arctic Cat's own backyard, the plant Edgar Hittine literally built. They're seeking strategic alternatives. You know, they might sell it or wind it down entirely. Now look at Polaris. Q3 2024, profits plunged 82%. Sales down 23%. Q4 2024, earnings got absolutely destroyed, down 90%. Sales crashed 23% to $1.755 billion. January 2025. They axed 10% of the entire workforce, already cut $250 million in costs, and warned 2025 is going to hurt. Another 1 to 4% sales drop. CEO Mike Speetzen tells analysts, "We are going to control what we can control." Stock went from over $110 highs just a couple years ago to $51 early 2025, down over 55%. As of 2026, we know it's clawed back to around $66. But damn, that was ugly. This is where I'll be honest with you, because this is more complicated than just blaming corporate greed. The pandemic was a sugar high for every power sports company. We all know that. But don't you guys think there's a deeper problem that doesn't go away when interest rates normalize? The snowmobile market hasn't grown. The median age of a snowmobiler in North America is now 54 years old, up from 40 in 2010. The new riders aren't showing up in numbers that replace the ones aging out. Warmer winters shorten seasons. Insurance and access costs keep rising. Polaris still holds 40% of the global snowmobile market in 2026. They're still the largest. But 40% of a shrinking market is a different problem than 40% of a growing one. And the diversification that was supposed to protect them, ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles. Every single one of those markets is also under the same pressure right now. High prices, cautious buyers, bloated dealer inventory. There's nowhere to hide. If you're angry about this, hit the like button right now, because we're not done yet. Let's get back to our main question. If Polaris had stayed a snowmobile company, pure snowmobile, the way Arctic Cat was trying to be, would they be better off today? Or would they be even deeper in trouble? Honestly, worse. The snowmobile industry peaked in the early 1970s. At the height, there were over 100 manufacturers in North America building sleds. By the mid-80s, that was down to 4. The market contracted hard after the oil crisis. 2 bad snow years and overproduction. A company that stayed only in snowmobiles in 1985 would be a much smaller company today. Maybe not a company at all. The ATV pivot, the Ranger, the RZR, those were real, smart, legitimate business decisions. The RZR alone created the sports side-by-side category from scratch. The problem isn't that Polaris diversified. The problem is that somewhere in the expansion, the snowmobile became a product line instead of an identity. When you were riding that Indy in 1987, you weren't buying from a power sports conglomerate. You were buying from a company in Roseau, Minnesota, where the guy who designed your suspension probably rode the same trails you do. That's gone now. And the guys who feel it most are exactly the ones watching this video. Let me be real with you guys. You can't save Polaris, but you can make choices that matter. First, if you're in the market for a sled right now, this is actually a buyer's window. Dealer inventory is high. Dealers are motivated. You have leverage you haven't had since 2019. Use it. Don't be shy about negotiating. Second, your local snowmobile dealer is more important than any manufacturer right now. The manufacturer will survive or it won't. But the dealer, the family-run shop that's been in your town for 30 years, they're the ones taking the real beating. Extended financing costs on unsold inventory. Smaller margins, they're hurting. Buy local. Get your service done local. A machine you maintain with a local dealer is a machine that stays on the trail. Third, trail systems need your investment, not just your riding. Snowmobile club memberships directly fund trail grooming, landowner relationships, and access agreements. Fewer club members means fewer trails means fewer riders. It's a direct pipeline. Get involved or watch it disappear. Fourth, if you've got kids or grandkids who've never ridden, now is actually the easiest time in 20 years to get them on snow cheaply. Used youth sleds are abundant because fewer families are buying new. A clean used Arctic Cat ZR 200 or a used Polaris Indy 120 can be had for well under $2,000 right now. That's how you rebuild the pipeline the industry desperately needs. And fifth, keep watching, keep talking, keep having this conversation. The manufacturers listen to culture more than they'll ever admit. When enough riders make enough noise about what snowmobiling actually means to them, it reaches the product teams. Maybe not the CFO, but the engineers, the riders inside those companies who still care. I want to hear your stories. What's the best Polaris sled you ever owned? Because I have a feeling this comment section is about to become a Hall of Fame. And if you want more honest breakdowns, hit that subscribe button and check out the next video here.